Today I'm going to be going through all of the seeds that I collected this past fall and determining which ones need cold-moist stratification. Cold-moist stratification is just a period of time where I will put the seeds into the refrigerator and they'll sit within some moist paper towels in a Ziploc bag in order to sort of simulate a winter. Normally, plants that are native to our region, which is the Mid-Atlantic, would go through a period of winter where they're subjected to low temperatures and moisture for a long period of time while they're dormant in the winter, and that prepares them to then germinate in the spring. If we bring the seeds indoors so that we can start them in trays and have a little bit more control over where we place them in our garden, we may have to simulate that period of winter for those plants so that they will germinate for us inside when we start them indoors or in our greenhouses, to give them a little head start before we put them outside. Same thing if you plan to plant them directly into the ground, but you've stored them in your house or in the garage over the winter, they're still going to need a period of cold moist stratification. Why do this? Well, you don't necessarily have to if you're okay with the plant that you've planted last year just dropping its seeds in the area wherever the wind or nearby animals happen to take it, and letting those new plants pop up wherever they happen to pop up. That's great in a meadow situation. But if you want to try to create a more formalized garden space with your native plants, then you might want to start some of them indoors or in the greenhouse in the spring, and then be able to plant them as plugs when the weather finally warms up, so that you know exactly where you're placing them and can have a little bit more artistic license out there. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through all the different seeds I collected. Some of them are native plants, some of them were annuals, such as zinnia that I like to plant to attract butterflies, and just because I love zinnias, they're beautiful. But I'm going to go through and Google each type of seed and then make a list of which ones need a period of cold moist stratification and how long they need to be in the refrigerator, so how many weeks. Alright, so I've gone ahead and I Googled all the types of seeds that I have and wrote down how many weeks they need to be in the refrigerator for cold moist stratification. And now I'm just going to go ahead and set up that process. So essentially all I need is a roll of paper towels, some freezer bags. I find the 1 quart ones usually work unless I have a ton of seeds, and some water, a Sharpie, of course, to label the bag. So I'm just going to get, the water is room temperature, and I'm just going to go ahead and dip the paper towel in and then wring it out really well, because you don't want the paper towel to be too moist or you can end up growing mold in a short amount of time. If the seeds do get some mold on them, it's okay. They will still, for the most part, they'll still germinate. It's just, I don't like to work with the seeds that have the mold on them because I don't want to be breathing that in when I pull them out of the refrigerator. So it's best to keep that not too damp. And I have some common milkweed here that I saved. And common milkweed needs at least 30 days, although I have found that in the past. So I'm just gonna spread those seeds out on my paper towel, on one side of the paper towel, one half. And it's just a nice thin layer, single layer. And I have found though that even though it says a 30-day minimum, that's kind of just a guideline. I have had milkweed seeds that I forgot about for an entire year, and then planted them a whole year later after they'd been in the fridge and yes, gotten a little bit moldy, and they still germinated. So if for some reason you start this process and then you get busy and you find that you weren't able to get them in the ground this year, don't despair. You can still use those seeds. You can still plant those seeds next year. And I don't know if the germination rate is as good, but you will still get plants that grow from them. So don't throw them out. They are still useful. They can stay in much longer than the 30 days. So then I just fold my paper towel over so that the seeds don't fall out as I'm putting it into the baggie. I stick it in the bag and try to make sure it's still open as much as possible. Squeeze all the air out just like you would if you were putting food in the refrigerator. And then I'm going to just label my bag so that I know this is common milkweed. It needs a minimum of 30 days and today's date. Now I'm getting started late. It's February in my region. I could have done this back in November or December, right after I collected the seeds. I just got busy. But it's okay because no matter when I take them out of the 30 days is going to be fine. Some of my other seeds need 90 days, but that's going to be okay too because I can plant native plants all season long and they'll still be fine, and by the second year they'll be strong. So that's all you do. So that's just one way to do this process. There's lots of different ways out there, so go ahead and take some time to compare and contrast all the different ways and see which one works best for your space. Thanks for watching, and if you would like to see more of what I'm doing in my garden, you can subscribe below.